Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. In this video, we are going to review CareCredit, talk about what it is, why you might use it, what is good about it, what is maybe not so good about it, all that good stuff. So CareCredit is medical financing, usually for elective procedures, things that you might have done that your health insurance isn't going to pay for, but that would probably make your life better. Things like maybe LASIK eye surgery, maybe cosmetic dentistry, maybe weight loss surgery, things of that nature that are going to have a big bill your health insurance isn't going to cover and you're going to need to pay it, and maybe you want to pay it over time. Same thing on the veterinary end. You maybe have, your dog or cat suddenly needs surgery that you weren't planning for, and it's going to be a big bill, and so you would like to finance that versus paying it all at one time. So the way most people get to a point where they're considering CareCredit is when they go into a doctor's office and they're actually offered that financing after they find out what a procedure is going to cost, and they have a little sticker shock, and the doctor or veterinarian says, well, you could finance it through CareCredit. So your doctors actually have a relationship with CareCredit and they'll offer it to you on the spot. Now, you could apply for it on your own outside of the doctor's office, but that is probably the way that most people get into it. Now, CareCredit, even though they don't really portray it this way, is essentially a credit card, and it is issued by Synchrony Bank, which is a bank that issues a lot of retail store credit cards like the Sam's Club credit card, Dick's Sporting Goods, Old Navy, JCPenney, and a ton of others. So the only difference between this card and any of those kind of cards is that they're giving you a credit card essentially for a medical procedure, and they're giving you some potentially good financing terms. But it's really not a whole lot different than if you went into Dick's Sporting Goods and you wanted to buy treadmill and they said you can get the Dick's card and get 0% financing, all that sort of thing. So that's really what you're dealing with here. So if CareCredit is essentially just a medical credit card, why would you choose CareCredit over other credit cards? A couple reasons. Number one, 0% financing. So the way CareCredit works is going to be a little bit different from doctor's office to doctor's office, but generally what you get is a 0% financing offer on purchases or on bills anywhere from $200 up. And it could be anywhere from 6 months 0% financing to 24 months 0% financing, where as long as you pay off the complete balance within that period of time, you're not going to pay any interest. You'll just have longer to stretch out those payments. Now that sounds great, but one thing you need to know is that CareCredit is what is known as deferred financing. And what that means is when they give you 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, or whatever at a 0% rate, you have to pay off every single penny of however much you owe during that agreed upon period. If you don't, and you still have some small balance left when that period is over, they aren't going to just charge you interest on what's left over. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to charge you interest on the full balance all the way back from the date when you first agreed to the terms of that deal. So from the date of purchase, you're going to pay all that interest like the 0% offer never existed, and there's going to be a high interest rate, which, as I make this video, is 26.99%. So it's not like you pay off the majority of it, and if you're 90% there, you only have to pay interest on the last 10%. If you don't get it all paid off, you're going to pay interest on all of the balance from the date that you opened the account. On really large bills, you might get offered financing that is not 0% but is less than what a regular credit card would charge you. For example, for bills of $1,000 or more, you could get offered a 24 to 48 month period where you would pay 14.9 to 16.9% on that bill. Again, depends on what you are offered when you go into the doctor's office. If you have a bill of $2,500 or more, you could get financing all the way up to 60 months, which is 5 years, and then that's going to be at a little bit higher interest rate, but still less than what you would normally get through this credit card or a lot of other credit cards. So that 0% financing could be attractive as long as you handle it correctly. Now, the second reason you might choose CareCredit over some other type of credit card is the fact that you might have an easier time qualifying for CareCredit than traditional credit cards. Synchrony Bank is known to be a bank that works with people that have lower credit scores. So sometimes if you're someone sitting in that maybe 620 to 650 range and the credit cards you get your hands on, not very good, going to have extremely high interest rates, you might qualify for CareCredit. And if you want or need to have one of these procedures, well, then this might be the best way to do it, not only to get the 0% financing, but to actually be approved for that financing. Now, while CareCredit is mostly for the procedures I've already talked about, it is a card that you can use at some retailers, most notably Walmart, Walgreens, Sam's Club, but as a credit card with a 26.99% interest rate on everyday purchases, no rewards, this isn't a very attractive credit card to use anywhere else, again, unless maybe you have bad credit and you can't get anything better than this. If you're thinking about how CareCredit is going to be reported to the credit bureaus, you should know that it is reported as revolving credit, just like regular credit cards. It is not considered an installment loan. So with all that said, should you get CareCredit or accept CareCredit financing from a doctor's office? Well, it all depends on your situation. Again, if you have a lower credit score and you wouldn't be able to get your hands on 0% financing otherwise, or you wouldn't be able to qualify for another credit card, this could be something that works for you as long as you understand that deferred financing aspect and that you have to pay everything off in time. Now, if you have better credit, I wouldn't choose CareCredit. I would go instead for a regular credit card that offers you 0% financing on new purchases for a nice healthy chunk of time. There are plenty of cards out there that are going to offer you 0% on new purchases for 15 months or maybe as much as 18 months. We actually have a list of 0% cards that you can see on the Proud Money website if you want to go that way. And the thing that's better about that, as long as you can be approved, is that if you put a purchase on a card with 0% on new purchases for 15 months or 18 months or whatever, even if you didn't pay off every penny by the end of that 15 months or whatever the term is, anything that was left is all you would get charged interest on. So you wouldn't have that deferred financing where it goes back to the date of purchase. You'd only pay the interest on whatever you hadn't paid off during that 0% period, which obviously is much, much better. So I don't think CareCredit is inherently bad or good. The one concern I do have about it a little bit though is that oftentimes when you are offered CareCredit financing, it's when you're in sort of a vulnerable position. You go into a doctor's office and maybe there's a procedure you really want cosmetically or you feel you really need, would make your life a lot better, or maybe you have a pet that is sick and you feel like you'd be a bad pet owner if you didn't go ahead with whatever procedure the vet was suggesting. So you're sort of in a position where you are a little bit captive, I guess, in terms of when they offer you the financing. And so you have to think to yourself that you're sort of in this emotional place and you might sign up for financing here that you can't necessarily pay off. You maybe aren't thinking ahead to knowing for sure that you're going to be able to pay off within whatever that 0% financing period is. So it's a little different than, you know, Old Navy pitching you on a credit card when you're buying some clothing and you just say, nah, I don't need that or whatever, because it's a much smaller purchase. In this case, it's something bigger. You want it. You know you can get it paid for, even if maybe you couldn't pay for it otherwise. And so maybe you say yes when you're not in the position necessarily to be sure that you can pay it off. So that is the kind of place where CareCredit doesn't always feel good to me, but there's nothing, again, inherently bad or good about it. You just have to handle it in the right way. Questions, comments, I'd love to hear those in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. If you're not going to leave a comment or you are not going to go to the website, maybe next you'll want to watch this video.